The gun was already aimed at his chest when the officer said the words that would end his career. "Get on the ground, now." What happened in the next 7 minutes would be reviewed frame by frame, slowed down, zoomed in, and replayed across an entire department. It was 8:42 p.m. in Arlington, Virginia. The air was cool, the kind of early fall evening where the streets felt calm but alert. Traffic was steady near the shopping plaza off Wilson Boulevard. Families were leaving restaurants. A few people stood outside a coffee shop scrolling through their phones. Marcus Hale stepped out of a black SUV parked legally near the curb. He was tall, composed, dressed in dark jeans and a fitted jacket. Nothing flashy, nothing dramatic, just another professional finishing his day. He had just wrapped up a long meeting across the river in D.C. and stopped to grab dinner before heading home. He locked his vehicle and started walking toward the crosswalk. That's when the patrol car lights flashed behind him. Red and blue washed across the storefront windows. Marcus paused, slightly confused, and turned. The patrol car door opened quickly. Officer Daniel Reeves stepped out, hand already resting near his holster. "Sir, step away from the vehicle." Marcus blinked once. "I'm sorry, step away from the vehicle. Keep your hands visible." "My hands are visible," Marcus said calmly, lifting them slightly away from his sides. A second unit pulled up within seconds. People nearby slowed down. Phones started lifting, not obviously, but noticeably. Reeves approached quickly, voice sharp. That vehicle was reported suspicious. "In what way?" Marcus asked. "Don't ask questions. Step back." Marcus took 2 measured steps backward. "I just parked and locked it. Is there a specific issue?" Reeves' tone hardened. "Are you the registered owner?" "Yes." "Prove it. My wallet is in my back pocket. Do not reach for anything." The second officer, younger, stood near the passenger side of the patrol car, watching carefully. Marcus kept his voice level. "For sir, if you'd like identification, I need to reach for it." Reeves' jaw tightened. "Turn around. Am I being detained? Or now?" The words cut through the evening air. Marcus slowly turned around. Reeves stepped closer. "And why exactly were you sitting in that vehicle for 20 minutes? "I wasn't. I arrived less than 3 minutes ago. We have a call about someone casing vehicles in this lot." Marcus exhaled quietly. "That's not me." "Then you won't mind cooperating." "I am cooperating." Reeves moved in closer, tension rising. "Shh. What do you do for work? I'm in federal service?" Reeves gave a small, dismissive smirk. "Federal service? That's so?" "Yes." "Doing what?" "Prefer to show identification?" Reeves' voice sharpened. "I didn't ask what you prefer." The second officer shifted uncomfortably. Marcus could feel the shift in tone. This wasn't about a suspicious vehicle anymore. This was becoming something else, something ego-driven. "Sir," Marcus said calmly, with respect, "I'm asking what the reasonable suspicion is." That question changed everything. Reeves stepped back half a step. "You want to talk law with me? I'm asking for clarification." Reeves' hand moved, not to his radio, not to his notebook, to his weapon. In one swift motion, he drew his firearm and aimed it directly at Marcus's chest. "On the ground, now?" Gasps echoed from across the sidewalk. Marcus froze for half a second, processing. The younger officer looked stunned. "Daniel, get on the ground," Reeves repeated. Marcus slowly lowered himself to his knees. He placed his hands behind his head. "I am not resisting," he said clearly. "You fit the description." "What description?" "Black SUV. Suspicious behavior. That describes half this parking lot." Reeves didn't lower the gun. "Face down?" Marcus complied. Cold pavement pressed against his cheek. He could hear phones recording now. Someone whispered. He wasn't doing anything. The younger officer approached carefully and placed handcuffs on Marcus. "They're tight," Marcus said calmly. "Good," Reeves muttered. "Sir?" Marcus continued, voice steady, despite the gun still aimed at him. "There are cameras on that building. I have done nothing illegal." "You can explain that downtown before this escalates further," Marcus said. "I strongly suggest you verify my identification." Reeves leaned down slightly. "Oh, we'll verify everything." He holstered his weapon, but kept his posture aggressive. The younger officer retrieved Marcus's wallet. Inside was a standard driver's license. Behind it, a second credential. The younger officer paused. He looked at it longer than necessary. Daniel Reeves didn't respond. Daniel, you might want to look at this. Reeves snatched the credential. A split second, his expression didn't change. Then it did, very slightly. What is this? Reeves asked. Marcus remained face down on the pavement. That is federal identification. Reeves stared at the badge, Department of Justice, Special Investigations Division, clearance level marked, official seal embedded. The younger officer swallowed. Sir, that's... Reeves cut him off. It could be fake. Marcus's voice stayed calm. Call it in. Reeves hesitated. Call it in, Marcus repeated. Dispatch can verify within 60 seconds. The air felt heavier now. Reeves walked toward his patrol car, badge still in hand. The younger officer helped Marcus sit upright, but kept the cuffs on. You good? He asked quietly. I will be, Marcus replied. Dispatch answered. Reeves gave the credential number. Silence, static. Then a change in tone from the dispatcher. Stand by. A longer pause. Then Unit 14. That identification is valid. Reeves' posture stiffened. Confirm. Confirmed. Special Agent Marcus Hale. Active status. The younger officer's eyes widened. Reeves didn't speak for a full 5 seconds. Then dispatch added something else. Unit 14. Supervisory notification is being initiated. Reeves' jaw tightened. Why? That individual carries interagency oversight clearance. The words hung in the air. Oversight clearance. Which meant this wasn't just a federal agent. This was someone authorized to review operations, including local law enforcement conduct. Reeves walked back slowly. The energy had shifted. Marcus sat upright, hands still cuffed, calm as ever. Informed you I was in federal service. Reeves didn't respond. Instead, his radio crackled. Unit 14 remain on scene. Federal liaison is requesting direct communication. The younger officer quietly removed the cuffs. Marcus stood, brushing dust from his jacket. He pointed a firearm at me without probable cause, Marcus said evenly. Reeves snapped back defensively. You matched a description? What description? Reeves didn't answer. Sirens sounded faintly in the distance, but not city sirens. Unmarked vehicle engines. Within minutes, 2 dark government SUVs turned into the plaza entrance. They parked without lights. Doors opened. 2 suited individuals stepped out, badges visible at their waists. Reeves' breathing changed. Younger officer stepped back instinctively. Marcus remained still. The taller of the 2 suited officials approached directly. Special Agent Hale. Yes, you all right? I am now. The official turned to Reeves. Who is the primary officer? Reeves swallowed. It would be me. Weapon drawn? Yes. Reason? Suspicious activity. Define suspicious. Reeves hesitated. The official's expression hardened. 7 minutes, he said quietly. That's how long it took for this to reach our office. Reeves blinked. Your body cam is active, correct? Yes. Good. The official glanced at Marcus. We'll handle it from here. Reeves tried to regain control of the moment. With all due respect, he was uncooperative. Marcus looked directly at him. I asked for a reasonable suspicion clarification. The suited official nodded slowly. Officer Reeves, your watch commander has already been notified. Reeves' face paled. In Internal Affairs, is also notified. The plaza was nearly silent now. Phones still recording, whispers spreading. Yes. Marcus finally exhaled fully for the first time since the gun was drawn. He wasn't angry. He wasn't loud. He was composed, which somehow made the moment even heavier. The official turned back to Reeves. Effective immediately, you are relieved of field duty pending review. Reeves stared. Right now. Right now, the younger officer looked stunned. 7 minutes, the official repeated calmly. That's all it took. Marcus picked up his wallet from the patrol hood, looked at Reeves one last time. This didn't have to happen. Reeves said nothing. As Marcus walked toward the black SUV, the federal officials remained behind, already requesting footage uploads. Before Marcus opened his door, he paused. He turned slightly toward the suited official. I'd like full documentation preserved. It already is. Marcus nodded, and then he left. The plaza slowly returned to its normal rhythm. But inside the department, alarms had just begun ringing because this wasn't just about a drawn weapon. It was about procedure, authority, and a camera that captured everything. If you're watching this and you believe accountability matters no matter the badge, make sure you're subscribed to Beyond the Gavel. We break down the moments where power is tested, and what happens next might surprise you. Because this story, it's only getting started, and what that body cam shows in minute 4 changes everything. The plaza didn't return to normal as quickly as it seemed. People went back to their dinners, cars pulled out, conversations resumed. But Officer Reeves felt something else entirely. Not embarrassment, not yet. Something closer to disbelief. He stood beside his patrol car as the 2 federal officials quietly spoke with Marcus a few feet away. Their voices were calm, controlled, professional. That calmness irritated him more than shouting would have. Because calm meant confidence, and confidence meant documentation. The younger officer shifted beside him. "Daniel, maybe we should have slowed it down." Reeves didn't look at him. He refused commands. He asked for clarification. That's the same thing. But even as he said it, he knew it wasn't. One of the suited officials walked over. "We'll need immediate upload of all body cam and dash cam footage." Reeves crossed his arms. That standard procedure? Guess for what? A misunderstanding. The official held his gaze. For a drawn firearm without articulated threat, that phrasing hit differently. Not mistake, not confusion. Drawn firearm without articulated threat. That was departmental language. Language that triggered automatic review. Reeves felt heat rising in his neck. It was officer's safety. Explained the threat. He was reaching for what? For his wallet. After being instructed to retrieve identification, Reeves didn't respond. The younger officer looked down at the pavement. The federal official didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. Your watch commander is en route. Reeves' stomach tightened slightly. This was escalating faster than expected. Marcus finished speaking with the second official and began walking toward his vehicle. He wasn't triumphant, he wasn't dramatic, he simply left. Somehow that made it worse. No yelling, no accusations, just quiet certainty. As Marcus drove away, the plaza lights reflected across his windshield. Inside his SUV, his phone vibrated. 3 missed calls, 1 text from a colleague. "You good?" He typed back 1 word. "Handled?" But he knew it wasn't handled. Not yet. Back at the scene, Reeves' radio crackled. "Unit 14, supervisor arriving in 2. The younger officer cleared his throat. "Daniel, what if IA opens this?" Reeves snapped. It was a lawful stop. The words sounded thinner now. Both of them knew the moment everything shifted. When the credential came out, when dispatch's tone changed, and the word oversight was spoken, oversight meant review authority. Review authority meant someone who had likely audited departments before. Reeves leaned against his cruiser. He told himself this would blow over. Paperwork, report, maybe a note in the file. Nothing major, but he had missed one detail. 3 bystanders had captured the moment the gun was raised. Clear angle, clear audio. And within 10 minutes, one of those videos was already uploading. The watch commander arrived at 8:58 p.m., Lieutenant Carla Mendez. Stepped out of her unmarked unit with a tablet already in her hand. She didn't rush. She didn't raise her voice. But the way she walked told everyone on that scene this was no longer routine. "Officer Reeves," she said evenly. "Yes, ma'am. Walk me through it." Reeves straightened. Suspicious vehicle call. Black SUV parked in the lot. Male subject matching description. Initially non-compliant. Mendez looked up from her tablet. Define non-compliant. He questioned commands. Questioned or refused? Reeves hesitated half a second. Questioned. Did he refuse any direct order? Mendez tapped something on her screen. Body cam is already auto-uploading to Central. Reeves' jaw tightened. That fast? Anytime a weapon is unholstered longer than 3 seconds, the system flags it. The younger officer shifted beside the cruiser. Mendez turned to him. "You?" "Ma'am." He kept his hands visible. Asked for clarification. Identified himself as federal. Mendez's eyes moved back to Reeves. Why was the weapon drawn? He reached. For what? For his wallet. After you requested identification. Reeves didn't answer. Mendez didn't push. She simply swiped on the tablet. I'm going to review minute 3 through minute 5. The night felt quieter. Even the traffic seemed distant. The video loaded. From Reeves' own perspective, audio clear, footsteps, commands the question, am I being detained? Then the shift in tone, and the moment, weapon drawn, freeze frame. Mendez zoomed slightly. Where is the threat? She asked calmly. Reeves stared at the screen. He moved. Yes. Slowly, after verbal instruction, she replayed it at half speed. No sudden lunge, no aggressive posture, just controlled movement, and then on the ground. Now, Mendez paused the video again. Why escalate too lethal force posture? Officer safety. That answer felt automatic. This time he didn't say it, because the video didn't support it. The younger officer swallowed. Ma'am, I didn't perceive a threat. Reeves shot him a look. Mendez noticed. She turned the tablet so both could see. Minute 4. 12 seconds. She let it play. The credential appears. The hesitation. The call to dispatch. The tone shift.
Oh.
Then the phrase, oversight clearance. Mendez stopped the playback. She looked directly at Reeves. Do you know what oversight clearance means? Yes, ma'am. Explain it. It means interagency review authority, which includes local procedural audits and use-of-force compliance reviews. Silence. Reeves felt his heart beat in his ears now, not because Marcus was federal, but because Marcus was federal with authority to evaluate departments like theirs. Mendez locked the tablet screen. This isn't about who he is, she said quietly. It's about what you did before you knew who he was. That sentence landed heavier than anything else that night. A second patrol unit pulled in behind them, not responding to a call, just observing. Word had started spreading across the radio network. Federal agent, a weapon drawn, possible complaint. And something else neither Reeves nor the younger officer realized yet. One of the bystander videos had already crossed 50,000 views. Not yet, but local nationwide. Not yet, but locally. It was moving. The caption read, Cop pulls gun on calm man for no reason. Mendez's phone vibrated. She glanced down. Then back at Reeves. Internal Affairs wants preliminary documentation before midnight. That fast? Oh, yes. She held his gaze. And the federal liaison has requested a formal explanation of articulated threat. Reeves exhaled slowly. This is being blown out of proportion. Mendez's tone didn't change. No, it's being documented. Across town, Marcus sat in his home office. His jacket hung neatly over a chair. His phone rested on the desk. He wasn't pacing. He wasn't angry. He was reviewing policy, specifically Section 4.3 escalation of force. His laptop screen glowed in the dim room. An encrypted message appeared. Footage secured, he typed back. Preserve original timestamp. Then he leaned back. 7 minutes. That's all it took from initial contact to federal notification. But what most people didn't understand, those 7 minutes would now be measured against every second of policy. Back at the plaza, Lieutenant Mendez handed Reeves a printed form from her vehicle. Preliminary use of force statement. He stared at it. I have until end of shift. No. She met his eyes. You have until 1 hour. The younger officer looked stunned. Ma'am, are we being investigated? Mendez answered carefully. Procedure is being reviewed. But everyone knew what that meant. Reeves glanced once more at the dark road where Marcus had driven away. He had expected the night to end with paperwork and a shrug. Instead, it felt like something larger was moving, something structured, organized, systematic. His radio crackled again. Unit 14, be advised. Media inquiry received. Reeves felt his stomach drop. Media? Already? Mendez didn't look surprised. This is why we articulate, she said quietly. Because somewhere in minute 4, there was a pause, hesitation, a gap in explanation. And in situations like this, gaps become headlines. If you're still watching, you're starting to see how quickly authority shifts when documentation enters the picture. Stay with me, because what happens when internal affairs slows that footage down frame by frame? That's where careers are truly decided. By 10:17 p.m., the station no longer felt like a station. It felt like a pressure chamber. Officer Daniel Reeves sat in interview room 2, still in uniform, duty belt removed, body cam already surrendered. The walls were the same dull gray they had always been. The metal table still slightly scratched from years of paperwork. But tonight it felt different, because tonight he wasn't writing a report about someone else. He was writing one about himself. Across the hallway, Internal Affairs had already begun pulling footage from the server. Not just his body cam, dash cam, radio logs, dispatch audio, timestamp synchronization, 7 minutes. That timeline had already been clipped into a separate review folder. Lieutenant Mendez stepped inside the room without knocking. "You've got 40 minutes left." Reeves looked up. "I've handled worse calls than that. This isn't about worse. It was a lawful stop." "Then articulate it clearly." She placed a printed sheet in front of him. "Department Use of Force Standard Section 3.2. He didn't need to read it. He knew it by memory. "Firearm may be drawn when an officer reasonably believes there is an imminent threat of serious bodily harm." Reasonably believes? Imminent threat, serious bodily harm. He stared at the words. Mendez folded her arms. "Walk me through your threat assessment." He reached. Slowly, he questioned commands. "That's not a threat." He challenged authority. "That's not a threat either." Silence settled between them. Down the hall, a monitor displayed the paused body cam footage on a large screen. IA had already slowed it to quarter speed. Minute 3:47. Marcus's hands visible. Minute 3:49. Instruction given to retrieve identification. Minute 3:52. Movement begins. Minute 3:55. Weapon drawn. Freeze. The investigator pointed at the screen. "Show me the threat." No one answered. Back in interview room 2, Reeves rubbed his hands together. "You weren't there?" Mendez held his gaze. "I don't need to be." The camera was. That sentence stayed in the air. The camera was. Crosstown, Marcus sat at his desk reviewing an incoming secure message. Department initiated IA within 90 minutes. He wasn't surprised. Oversight clearance triggered automatic review when a weapon was involved. But what mattered more wasn't his badge. It was the footage. He replayed the moment in his mind. The tone shift, the escalation, the decision point. He wasn't angry. He was analytical. Because this wasn't personal. And procedure is what ends careers, not emotion. Back at the station, another update came through. The bystander video had crossed 200,000 views. Local news had requested comment. The department's public information officer was drafting a holding statement. An incident is under review. That phrase always sounded neutral. But inside the building, nothing felt neutral. EA investigator Nolan entered the observation room. Timestamp alignment complete. Mendez joined him. "What do we have?" Nolan tapped the screen. Dispatch call about suspicious vehicle came in at 8:39. He switched to another frame. Officer arrives at 8:42. Another tap. No erratic behavior observed. He zoomed further. No furtive movements. He paused on the moment the weapon cleared the holster. Draw time, 2.8 seconds after subject began reaching. After being instructed to retrieve ID, Mendez added. Nolan nodded.
"Ask the issue?"
In interview room 2, Reeves' phone buzzed inside a sealed evidence bag on the counter. He couldn't access it, but he knew what it likely was. Other officers texting, some supportive, some silent. Silence was worse. The younger officer, Patel, sat in a separate room writing his own statement. He stopped midway. He looked at the blank space where he needed to describe the perceived threat. He couldn't fill it honestly, because he hadn't perceived one. And now that admission would become part of the official record. Reeves finished the first paragraph of his statement. He read it back silently. The subject displayed evasive behavior. He paused. Was that accurate? Questioning commands wasn't evasion. Crossed the line out. He tried again. Subject's movements raised officer safety concerns. That was closer, but vague. To vague. Down the hall, Nolan rewound minute 4 again. He zoomed into Reeves' face the moment the credential appeared. There, Nolan said. What? Mendez asked. Micro-expression. They watched closely. The slight pause. A flicker of uncertainty. The shift in breathing. Nolan tapped the screen. That's when he knew. Mendez nodded slowly. But the weapon stayed drawn another 3 seconds. 3 seconds doesn't sound long. But in policy review, 3 seconds can define intent.
But
At 11:02 p.m., the chief of police entered the building. No announcement, no noise. But word spread quickly. Chief Harold Brennan did not visit IA at night unless necessary. He walked straight into the observation room. Show me. Nolan replayed the footage. No commentary, just video. When it ended, Brennan stayed quiet. Then he asked one question. Has he had prior complaints? Mendez answered carefully. 2 prior use of force reviews. Cleared both. Any patterns? Escalation speed. Brennan exhaled slowly. And now? Nolan answered. Now we have documentation. Across the city, Marcus received another message. Media inquiry requesting your statement. He typed back. No. Public comment. This wasn't about headlines, it was about record. Back in interview room 2, Reeves looked up as the door opened again. Chief Brennan stepped inside. Reeves stood automatically. Sit. He did. Brennan remained standing. I'm going to ask you something directly. Yes, sir. If that credential had never appeared, would the weapon have stayed drawn? Reeves hesitated. The honest answer hovered. I don't know. Brennan studied him. That uncertainty is the problem. The room felt smaller. You understand the difference between authority challenged and threat presented? Yes, sir. Did he threaten you? No. Did he resist? God. Did he comply? Yes, Brennan nodded once. And yet your firearm was aimed at center mass. Reeves' throat felt dry. It was a dynamic situation. No, Brennan said quietly. This was a decision. Silence pressed against the walls. Outside patrol shifts were changing. Officers clocking in were already hearing about it. Some sympathetic, some cautious, because every officer understood one thing. If policy doesn't support you, the badge won't either. Brennan turned toward the door. Administrative leave, pending formal review. Reeves' head snapped up, effective immediately. The words echoed louder than shouting would have. This isn't final discipline, Brennan added. It's procedure. Procedure, that word again. It's the same word Marcus had relied on. The same word now closing in. Reeves remained seated after the chief left. The first time that night, the weight felt real. Not because of the federal badge, not because of media, because minute 4, 12 seconds, had no explanation. And in this department, unexplained escalation did not survive scrutiny. If you've made it this far, you're starting to see how fast accountability moves. When footage replaces opinion, but we're not at the career-ending moment yet, because what internal affairs uncovers in Reeves' past reports changes the direction of this case entirely. Administrative leave sounded temporary, procedural, almost harmless, but inside a police department, it carried weight. At 7:30 the next morning, internal affairs reopened to older files connected to Officer Daniel Reeves. Not because of rumor, because of pattern recognition. Case 1, traffic stop escalation. Case 2, foot pursuit ending in force. Case 3 last night, he wasn't looking for misconduct. He was looking for consistency. And consistency can either protect you or expose you. Lieutenant Mendez joined him, coffee untouched in her hand. Find anything? Nolan slid the first folder forward. In both prior cases, escalation occurred within 10 seconds of verbal resistance. Verbal resistance? Questioning commands? Tone challenge? Delayed compliance by less than 2 seconds. Mendez absorbed that quietly, and in both cases. Force was technically within policy, but barely. He tapped the third folder. Last night crosses the line. Across the building, the chief sat in a closed-door meeting with city legal counsel. The concern wasn't optics. It was liability. It's because when a firearm is drawn without articulated threat, it triggers a specific phrase attorneys pay attention to: objective reasonableness. And if that standard fails, everything collapses with it. Meanwhile, Marcus Hale arrived at a federal office just outside D.C. He didn't request this meeting. It was scheduled automatically after dispatch verification. Oversight clearance required incident logging. He entered a quiet conference room where 2 senior federal supervisors waited. Agent Hale, morning. Walk us through it, he did. No exaggeration, no dramatics. Just sequence. Command issued to retrieve ID. Movement began. Weapon drawn. Perceived threat? None. Resistance? None. One of the supervisors nodded slowly. Were you concerned? Marcus paused. Yes. Why? Because once a firearm is drawn unnecessarily, decision-making becomes unpredictable. That sentence was written down immediately. Back at the department, Patel, the younger officer sat across from IA. His hands were clasped tightly. Did you perceive an imminent threat? No. Did the subject make aggressive movements? No. Did he attempt to flee? No. Why do you believe Officer Reeves drew his weapon? Patel hesitated. I think he felt challenged. The investigator didn't react outwardly. But that answer changed the direction of review. Challenged authority is not legal justification for lethal posture. By noon, local media had requested official comment again, this time with specific wording. Why was a weapon drawn on a compliant federal agent? That phrasing mattered. Compliant, federal, weapon drawn. The department released a short statement. The matter is under internal review. Neutral, controlled, but incomplete. In his home, Reeves sat at his kitchen table staring at his silent phone. Administrative leave meant no patrol. No badge on his belt, no radio, just waiting. Waiting is louder than action. He replayed the moment in his head, again and again. The hand movement, the question, the tone. He had interpreted it as defiance. But defiance isn't danger. He knew that. And now EA knew that too. At 1:45 p.m., investigator Nolan made a discovery. Not in footage. In language. He compared Reeves' 3 statements side by side. The phrasing was nearly identical in each report. Subject exhibited behavior consistent with potential threat escalation. Same wording, different scenarios. Mendez leaned over his shoulder. Template language. Or defensive language, Nolan replied. And last night, he didn't describe a threat. No, he described a feeling. That distinction was critical. Feelings do not justify force. Documented actions do. Across town, Marcus received confirmation that the department had placed Reeves on leave. He didn't celebrate. He didn't react. Simply closed the email. Because this was no longer about him. It was about precedent. At 3:10 p.m., the chief called an emergency policy review session. Command staff gathered around a long table. Screens displayed the paused frame of minute 4. Weapon raised. Subject compliant. Chief Brennan spoke quietly. If this stands as is, we're exposed. One captain asked, federal pressure? Brennan shook his head. No, policy pressure. He pointed at the screen. This is where we either enforce our standards or admit we don't have them. Silence followed, as every command officer understood what that meant. Reeves wasn't just being evaluated. The department's credibility was too. Late afternoon brought another update. The bystander video had now reached nearly 1 million views. Commentary spread quickly. Some supportive of police, some critical. But almost all focused on one moment, the lack of visible threat. Back at IA, Nolan prepared the preliminary finding. Not final discipline. Not yet. Just classification, category. Unjustified escalation of force. That label alone triggered mandatory disciplinary board review. Disciplinary board meant recorded testimony. Sworn statements. Cross-examination. Documentation entered permanently into record. Reeves received the notification email at 4:32 p.m. Subject. Formal review scheduled. He read it twice, then set the phone down slowly. For the first time, he understood something clearly. This was no longer a misunderstanding. It was a measurable policy violation. And measurable violations don't disappear quietly. That evening, Marcus stepped outside his office building as the sun set behind the skyline. A colleague walked beside him. You planning to file anything? Marcus shook his head. Not unless procedure fails. Do you think it will? Marcus looked out at the city lights beginning to flicker on. I think the footage will decide. And footage doesn't have loyalty. It doesn't pick sides. It simply shows. Back at the department, Lieutenant Mendez closed the third folder and leaned back in her chair. 3 incidents. Same escalation pattern, faster each time. She stared at minute 4 again, because buried inside that second of hesitation was the real issue. It wasn't fear, it wasn't confusion, it was pride. And pride under pressure can be career-ending. The disciplinary board was scheduled for 48 hours later. But something else was already moving behind the scenes. A federal compliance liaison had requested observer status, which meant this wasn't staying internal. If you're still with me, you can feel the shift now. This isn't just about a gun drawn on the wrong person. It's about a system deciding whether standards actually matter. And when that board reviews the final slowdown frame from minute 4, one tiny detail no one noticed that night will change the outcome completely. The courtroom felt different that morning. Not loud, not dramatic, just heavy. It's the kind of heavy where everyone in the room knows something serious is about to happen. Officer Daniel Reeves sat at the defense table in a plain gray suit. No badge, no uniform, no weapon on his hip. His shoulders looked smaller somehow, like the weight of the last few weeks had physically pressed him down. Across the aisle, Marcus Williams sat beside his attorney, calm, composed, no expression of revenge, just quiet focus. Behind Marcus sat several federal agents, not in uniform, but their presence was unmistakable. The judge entered. Everyone stood. The hearing began. This wasn't a criminal trial. It was a civil rights violation hearing tied to a federal review. The U.S. Attorney's Office had filed formal findings. The FBI had completed its internal investigation, and the Police Department's Internal Affairs Unit had submitted disciplinary recommendations. The judge looked directly at Reeves. Officer Reeves, on May 14th, you conducted a traffic stop outside your jurisdiction. You exited your vehicle with your firearm drawn. You issued verbal threats without lawful basis. You ignored identification presented to you. You used profanity and racial language during the encounter. And you physically detained a federal officer performing official duties. The courtroom was silent. Reeves' attorney shifted in his seat. The judge continued. Body camera footage confirms these actions. Dash camera footage confirms these actions. Witness testimony confirms these actions. The screen behind the judge lit up. Body cam footage played. Reeves stepping out of his cruiser. Gun raised, voice aggressive. Hands up, don't move. Marcus's calm voice. I'm a federal agent. My credentials are in my jacket. Reeves shouting. I don't care who you think you are. The footage paused. The judge removed his glasses. Officer Reeves, you were trained to de-escalate. Instead, you escalated. You were trained to verify identification. Instead, you ignored it. You were trained to respect constitutional protections. Instead, you violated them. Reeves swallowed hard. The judge looked toward the prosecution table. The Federal Review Board has made its recommendation. The U.S. Attorney stood. Yes, Your Honor, she spoke clearly. Termination of employment. Revocation of law enforcement certification. Placement on the National Brady List. Referral for federal civil rights prosecution under 18 U.S.C. Section 242. The words hit like a hammer. Brady List. That meant any future court testimony would be considered unreliable. It meant no other department would hire him. It meant the career was over. The judge turned back to Reeves. Officer Reeves, you took an oath. That oath applies to every citizen equally. There are no exceptions. Reeves' voice was barely audible. Yes, Your Honor. The judge's final words were calm but firm. This court adopts the federal recommendation. The gavel struck. It was done. No dramatic music, no shouting, just consequences. Marcus exhaled slowly. He didn't smile. He didn't celebrate. He simply stood. Because for him, this was never about revenge. It was about accountability. Outside the courthouse, cameras waited. Porters called out questions. Agent Williams, do you have a statement? Marcus stepped to the microphone. He paused, then he spoke. I respect law enforcement. I work with law enforcement every day. Most officers do their jobs with integrity. But when power is abused, it damages public trust. Accountability protects good officers as much as it protects citizens. His voice was steady. This isn't about race versus badge. It's about the Constitution. It's about equal protection under the law. He stepped back. No insults, no grandstanding, just clarity. That clip would go viral within hours. But here's what most people didn't know. The department wasn't finished investigating. Because during the review of Reeves' body cam footage, investigators found something else. A pattern. Previous stops, similar tone, similar aggression, complaints that had been dismissed, cases that had quietly disappeared. Internal Affairs reopened them. Within weeks, 2 prior traffic citations were thrown out due to misconduct. 1 excessive force complaint was reclassified and settled. And the department chief stood at a press conference days later. "We failed to act sooner. That is on us. We're implementing mandatory bias training and independent oversight." Change didn't happen overnight, but pressure made movement possible. That is something viewers often forget. Accountability doesn't just punish one person, it forces systems to look in the mirror. Back at home that night, Marcus sat on his porch, phone buzzing. Messages from colleagues, support from strangers. One text stood out. It was from the first responding supervisor the night of the stop. "I should have stepped in sooner. I'm sorry." Marcus stared at the message, then he replied, "Next time do, because that's how trust rebuilds. It's not through speeches, it's through action." Now here's the part that matters most. 7 minutes. That's all it took. 7 minutes for a routine traffic stop to become a career-ending decision. 7 minutes of ego, 7 minutes of refusing to listen. 7 minutes that changed to lives. One lost a badge, one reaffirmed his oath. And if you've stayed with this story this long, I want to ask you something. What should accountability look like? Is termination enough? Should federal charges move forward? Or is reform inside departments the bigger solution? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read them, and I respond. Because conversations like this matter, and if this story made you think, share it with someone who believes accountability strengthens law enforcement, not weakens it. This is Beyond the Gavel, where power meets consequence, and where the law applies to everyone, every time. Let me know if you want an alternate ending where federal charges move forward into a criminal trial. That version goes even deeper into courtroom drama and could push this into a full 45-minute extended cut. The story didn't end with the gavel. It never does. When a badge is stripped and a name is placed on a national misconduct registry, the ripple effects spread far beyond one courtroom. 3 weeks after the ruling, the Department of Justice announced a review, not because Marcus demanded it, nor media pressure, but because the evidence was clear. When federal civil rights statutes are involved, clarity matters. Reeves was at home when he received the notice. Certified mail. Formal language. Cold wording. Under review for deprivation of rights under color of law, he read the sentence 3 times. This wasn't internal discipline anymore. This was federal exposure. Meanwhile, Marcus returned to work. Back to early mornings, briefing rooms, and investigations. Investigations that had nothing to do with him. That's the part viewers rarely see. Federal agents don't pause their careers for personal incidents. They keep moving. But something had changed. At his next interagency meeting, local officers greeted him differently. More respectful, more aware. Not out of fear, but recognition. They had seen the footage, they'd seen the outcome, and they understood something clearly now. Federal credentials aren't the reason accountability happened. The Constitution is abide. One afternoon, Marcus was invited to speak at a regional law enforcement training seminar. The topic wasn't race or scandal. It was professional conduct under stress. He stood in front of a room filled with officers from multiple departments. Some crossed their arms, some leaned forward. He didn't attack, he didn't lecture, he told the story calmly. I identified myself 3 times. The officer didn't verify. He escalated. That's not a training failure, that's a decision failure. You could feel the shift in the room, he continued. Every officer in this room will face a moment where ego and authority collide. In that moment, you choose who you are. Silence. Then someone raised a hand. What if you think someone is lying? Marcus nodded, then verify. That's your job. Not intimidate, not threaten. Verify. The training coordinator later said it was one of the most impactful sessions they'd ever hosted. And here's where the story takes another turn. The federal review concluded. There would be no criminal prosecution. The DOJ determined Reeves' actions met the threshold for misconduct and civil liability, but proving criminal intent beyond a reasonable doubt would be unlikely. Some people were outraged, some were relieved. Marcus, he understood the legal standard. Criminal court requires intent. Civil consequences require violation, and those violations had already ended the career. But the absence of criminal charges didn't erase financial consequences. A civil lawsuit moved forward. Not for millions, not for headlines, but for principle. The settlement included compensation, mandatory department reform benchmarks, and independent monitoring for 2 years. That's the part that rarely trends online. Policy changes, oversight structures, training reforms, quiet structural adjustments that prevent the next 7-minute collapse. Reeves attempted to apply for private security work. Background checks flagged the Brady listing. Applications stalled. Interviews ended quickly. A single decision under pressure had permanently altered his path. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Most officers will never pull a weapon unnecessarily. Most officers will never ignore credentials. But the ones who do shape public perception for everyone, which is why accountability isn't anti-polities. It's pro-professionalism. One evening, months later, Marcus drove past the same stretch of road where it happened. The intersection looked ordinary. Traffic lights blinking, gas station on the corner, nothing dramatic. 7 minutes. That's all it took in that exact spot. He didn't slow down. He didn't relive it. He just drove forward, because the goal was never to stay in the incident. It was to move beyond it. And that's where this story truly lands. Power is temporary. Authority is conditional. But integrity follows you long after the sirens fade. If you've made it this far, you understand something deeper than a viral clip. You understand that the law isn't about winning, it's about standards. When standards are enforced evenly, trust grows. So I want to ask you again, should federal charges have been pursued? Was termination enough? Or do you think criminal prosecution was necessary? To send a stronger message, drop your perspective in the comments. Respectful debate only. Because this channel isn't about outrage, it's about accountability. And if this story kept you thinking, share it with someone who believes real strength comes from restraint, not intimidation. This is Beyond the Gavel, and sometimes the most powerful outcome isn't prison, it's consequence. 6 months later, the department didn't look different from the outside. Same brick building, same patrol cars, same uniforms. But inside, the culture had shifted. Quietly, deliberately. A federal compliance monitor now attended quarterly reviews. Not to control operations, but to observe patterns. Use force reports were no longer skimmed and archived. They were analyzed. Escalation speed, language tone, command clarity. Every report was measured against body cam footage. The training division introduced a new module titled Decision Points Under Pressure. And on the first slide, minute 4, not labeled with names, not labeled with accusations, just a paused image. An officer, a drawn weapon, a compliant subject. The instructor didn't attack, he asked a question. What alternative decisions were available right here? Hands slowly went up. Quest backup before drawing. Use a lower ready position. Verbally confirm identity before escalating. Slow down. Slow down. That phrase echoed across the room, because most bad decisions in law enforcement don't come from evil intent. They come from speed. Unnecessary speed. Marcus wasn't present at those trainings. He didn't need to be. The footage spoke for itself. Meanwhile, complaint intake procedures were restructured. Anonymous submissions were now reviewed by an external civilian panel before internal dismissal. Supervisors were required to document intervention attempts if they observed unnecessary escalation trends. Intervention attempts. That was new, because one of the quiet findings from the investigation wasn't just about Reeves. It was about missed correction. It's moments where supervisors could have stepped in earlier but didn't. Now they had to, or it became their liability to. Patel, the younger officer from that night, felt the shift personally. He requested additional de-escalation training voluntarily, not because he had done something wrong, but because he realized something important. Silence protects patterns. Speaking up interrupts them. One afternoon, Patel conducted a traffic stop that mirrored the original incident almost exactly. Out-of-state plates. Confident driver. Calm but questioning tone. For a split second, adrenaline nudged him. Authority challenged. The old reflex. But he remembered the slide. Minute 4. He lowered his stance. Sir, I'm going to verify your ID. Sit tight. No weapon drawn. No escalation. Backup arrived calmly. Identification confirmed. Routine stop. 10 minutes later, the driver left with a warning. No viral video, no investigation, no headlines, just professionalism. And that's the point. The best accountability stories are the ones that prevent the next incident. Across the state, other departments requested access to the department's revised training framework. But not because they were forced, because they saw what happened when standards were tested publicly. Reputation isn't repaired through press conferences. It's repaired through repetition of good decisions. Marcus received a quiet email from the department's chief months later. Subject: update on reform benchmarks. He read through the bullet points. Revised force policy language, supervisor intervention mandate, expanded scenario-based training, civilian oversight integration. At the bottom of the email, one sentence stood out. Your professionalism during the incident accelerated necessary change. Marcus stared at that line for a moment. Then he closed the laptop, because the goal was never recognition. It was correction. That same week, a national law enforcement conference cited the case during a panel discussion about modern accountability. One speaker said something powerful. Technology didn't create the problem. It revealed that body cams didn't ruin careers. Decisions did. Cameras just documented them. Reeves' name slowly faded from headlines. As they always do, public memory is short, but policy memory, that lasts longer. The Compliance Monitor's final report, issued nearly a year later, concluded something significant. The department demonstrates measurable reduction in rapid escalation incidents. Measurable reduction, not perfection. Progress. And that's realistic. Now, here's the final reflection. 7 minutes exposed a flaw. 48 hours initiated consequence. 6 months reshaped policy. 1 year shifted culture. Does the arc most viral clips never show you? Accountability isn't loud forever. It's loud at first. Then it becomes structural. Then it becomes normal. And when accountability becomes normal, trust slowly follows. If you've stayed with this entire story, you understand something deeper than outrage. You understand that power without restraint collapses, but power with oversight strengthens. So here's the final question. If that body cam footage didn't exist, would anything have changed? Be honest. Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if this story gave you a new perspective on how reform actually happens, share it. Because conversations grounded in facts move systems forward. This is beyond the gavel, where power meets consequence, and where the law, when it works, protects everyone. Every time. If you'd like, you can create a bonus extended cut that follows. Edel's career years later, showing how one moment of accountability shaped the next generation of officers. 2 years later, no one talked about the 7 minutes anymore. Not on the news, not online. Not even inside the department. Because when reform works, drama fades. And what replaces it is routine professionalism. Officer Patel now wore corporal stripes on his sleeve. Promotion didn't come because of seniority. It came because of documented decision-making. Supervisors had reviewed dozens of his body cam encounters over the previous year. Calm tone, clear commands. Measured posture. 0 unnecessary escalations. During one late-night shift, a rookie officer riding with him asked a simple question. "Corporal, how do you know when to draw your weapon?" Patel didn't answer immediately. They were parked near that same intersection. The same one. Traffic lights blinking against the dark. He finally said, "When there's an actual threat, not when I feel challenged." The rookie nodded slowly. Patel continued. "You don't draw to win an argument. You draw to stop danger. There's a difference." The words were simple, but they carried weight. Because 2 years ago, that distinction hadn't been honored. Inside the department, quarterly reviews had become standard practice. Supervisors no longer waited for complaints to identify patterns. Early intervention systems flagged rapid escalation behavior automatically. Officers weren't punished for stress. They were coached through it. That was new. Across the city, community complaint numbers had declined steadily. Not dramatically, not magically, but consistently. And consistency builds credibility. Marcus had moved into a supervisory role at the federal level. He rarely thought about that night anymore. Until one afternoon, when he was invited back, not as a victim, not as a headline, but as a guest speaker for a graduating police academy class. He stood at the podium in front of 30 new recruits. Different faces, different backgrounds, same oath waiting for them. He didn't mention names. He didn't replay footage. He told them something simple. Authority is a tool, but not an identity. The room was quiet. Someone questions you, that doesn't erase your authority. It tests your professionalism. He paused. The Constitution doesn't shrink under pressure, it becomes more important. After the ceremony, one recruit approached him. "Sir, were you scared that night?" Marcus considered the question carefully. "Yes," he said honestly. But because I didn't know if the system would work, the recruit nodded. Did it? Marcus gave a small, measured smile. It did, eventually, and that's the truth most stories don't show. Systems don't correct themselves instantly. They correct themselves when people inside them choose standards over silence. Back at that same intersection, a routine traffic stop unfolded again months later. Different officer, different driver, same circumstances. Out-of-state plates, questioning tone. The officer approached calmly. "Good evening. The reason for the stop is your taillight is out. Identification requested, verified, warning issued. Safe conclusion. No viral clip, no investigation. Just competence." That's the ending that matters most, because the true measure of accountability isn't how loudly someone falls. It's how quietly the next mistake doesn't happen. Reeves had long since moved out of state, his career in law enforcement permanently closed. Not because of a conspiracy, not because of politics. Because of a decision made under pressure that couldn't be justified under policy. One decision. 7 minutes. Lifetime consequence. And here's the final reflection. Power will always exist. Authority will always be necessary. But without restraint, both collapse. With oversight, they strengthen. If you've stayed through all 9 scenes, you didn't just watch a downfall. You watched a system get tested, and then adjust. So I want to leave you with one last question. When accountability happens, should we focus more on punishment or prevention? Drop your thoughts below. And if this full story gave you perspective beyond the headline, share it. Because the conversations that build trust don't happen in anger. They happen in awareness. Where power meets consequence. Where power meets consequence, and where the law, at its best, protects both the badge and the citizen.